have a country. It wouldn't be sustainable. So I'm honored to have done it. And, look, nothing's over yet, but we have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. It's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. And President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well. And they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out. They're in the process of figuring it out, but they want to make a deal.
A message saying it's a great time to buy, and here we are. Here we are, well, much higher.
I'd always bet on Donald Trump.
How about BRICS? The BRIC states, there are like 6 of them, and they were trying to destroy our dollar. They were going to say, they wanted to create a new currency. They probably wanted to use the yuan. China, they wanted to use the yuan. And Biden said, well, this is a tough situation. There's not much we can do about that. We can't help that. I said, oh, we can help it. So when I came in, the first thing I said is any BRIC state that even mentions the destruction of the dollar will be charged a 150% tariff, and we don't want your goods, we don't want to partake. And the BRIC states just broke up. I don't know what the hell happened to them. We haven't heard from the BRIC states lately.
If I could just add to what the Secretary said, many of you in the media clearly missed the art of the deal. You clearly failed to see what President Trump is doing here. You tried to say that the rest of the world would be moved closer to China when in fact we've seen the opposite effect. The entire world is calling the United States of America, not China, because they need our markets, they need our consumers, and they need this president in the Oval Office to talk to them. And that's exactly why more than 75 countries have called, because the United States of America is the best place in the world to do business. And as the president has shown great courage, as the secretary has said, in choosing to retaliate against China even higher.
We can't be a nation that invents everything but has everything built somewhere else. Eventually, you become subservient to the people who build things for you. If you make nothing, but all you do is think about it, then someone else will be the builder. And if you also allow these giant trade deficits and you let yourself have budget deficits, what ends up happening is the rest of the world also owns you. In 1980, we owned more of the rest of the world than they owned of us. And now the rest of the world owns 18 trillion net more of the United States than we own of them. So 60% of our GDP is now owned by outsiders. It's time for that to be right-sized and fixed. We're going to reshore great industrialization, bring back those jobs here, and we're going to strengthen America so that America plays the right role in the world and is not just the biggest consumer who overspends and eventually is owned by the rest of the world. That is just not going to happen. My grandchildren had a great day today because my grandchildren had a great day when Donald Trump was elected president.
When you talk about reindustrialization, Mr. Secretary, what do you want to be made here? I mean, how do you envision that manufacturing economy, of the future? Are we talking about bringing back textiles, T-shirts, sneakers, home goods, appliances? What?
Everybody always talks about these silly things.
Some would argue that those are lower value goods, and you want those goods to be manufactured abroad so that the United States can manufacture higher value goods.
And who's going to work those jobs?
So let's just go through this. So you have TSMC, right? So semiconductors. If you think about what is a semiconductor, every button you push means it has a chip. It may not have the newest chip that's in an iPhone, but it has an old chip. Your microwave oven, your refrigerator, your alarm clock, everything's got a chip in it. And that chip is all made in Asia, right? Taiwan makes virtually everything. Taiwan is 81 miles from China, and China has said we're going to take it over. Imagine if China went and took over Taiwan, and every single thing that we want to produce that has a plug, that has a button, is now owned by China, and we have nothing. It is outrageous that we allow that.
That's a national security argument. There's no national security argument for bringing back
All right, well, how about pharmaceuticals? You got a problem with pharmaceuticals? You don't have a problem with pharmaceuticals. How about steel and aluminum? You have a problem with steel and aluminum, right? You need all these things. And what's happening is you need to address it in bulk. You need to address the fact that we can't sell a car in Japan or Korea or Europe. It's just so blatantly unfair. At some point, our economy, our farmers need to be able to sell corn. Our ranchers need to be able to sell beef. We've got to have the world stop taking advantage of us to the tune of $1.2 trillion and have our economy unleashed and be unshackled, finally unshackled. Our farmers have no idea what it's like to actually have a full world to sell to. Our ranchers, our seafood, and our fishermen, they have no idea. These will be fundamental changes. That's why Donald Trump says, make America great again.
I just want to be very clear about this. The problems that the stock market had before are still in existence, much like, yes, you got a 10.8% rally on October 28th of 2008, but the market kept going down. You still have high valuations. You're still going to have, you have tariffs. They're just not as high as they originally were. And that's inflationary. Earnings estimates have been going down for the S&P 500 since the middle of last year. 6 of the 7 Mag 7 had revenue estimates cut for the March quarter when they reported their December quarters. All those things are still there.
This seems to underscore, though, pausing the reciprocal tariffs on everybody but China, and in fact raising them specifically on China, underscores the fact that this is a trade war that focuses on China, and it sort of isolates China as well. And I'm wondering how you think that gets played out in China, and what their next steps would be. I mean, it could be tit for tat and tariffs. So we've always said here that there are many other ways China could retaliate, particularly against countries who do business over there, like an Apple or Starbucks or any other company that has executives over there who could easily be detained for a myriad of reasons.
Well, let's keep in mind, Melissa, that China still remains today our third largest export market behind Canada and Mexico, and the second largest foreign owner of treasury. So they've got plenty of options to deal with should the U.S. continue to tighten the screws. And, I was in China for 10 days a couple of weeks ago, and it was pretty clear to me in talking to a lot of senior officials and academics and business people that they viewed the likelihood of further tariffs as clear justification to retaliate, and they did.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher, and I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And also, guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we officially have the two world powers about to collide. U.S. versus China. And Trump says that China wants to make a deal. And these tariffs are all about the BRICS and universal basic income. And I told you when it came to these tariffs, the West would be fine. It's all about China. And when you're looking at the percentage of merchandise that comes from China, just take Walmart for an example. About 70% of the goods are coming from China. And who do you think Walmart is going to pass that on to? That's right, the U.S. consumer. When we already have inflation. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, the consumer is about to be crushed. And we know why. They want to change their habits. Now, we had Trump sent out a post this morning. It's a great time to buy. And I bought on Monday, and I was hoping the market would go up on Friday because we have the bank earnings, but it went up today. So, of course, I sold some today. But I told you they're not ready to pull the rug just yet. We know we have earnings, and we know with crypto, we move up around this time. And like the press secretary stated, you clearly missed out on the art of the deal. Now, that was hilarious. Now, we have Lucknow clearly giving us the plan. He says we can no longer be a nation that doesn't make anything. So he's clearly telling you that the global supply chain is going to be changing and manufacturing is coming back to the United States. But remember, guys, you don't want those jobs. Those jobs, you're going to be working with the machines with low pay and long hours. It's not like we can't see what they do overseas. Just do your research on Foxconn. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And the volatility hasn't went anywhere yet. We do see the VIX coming down. Guys, just make sure you're paying attention to the indicators. We did have that 10-year yield go bananas, but we saw them manipulate that long end, which of course helped markets. And then we have China can easily hit U.S. corporations and banks. And we know these U.S. corporations are definitely going to take a beating. They're not going to hit the banks, of course. But once they flip that fourth industrial revolution switch, the digital assets and corporations that are set up for this fourth industrial revolution will rise. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we know China could sell treasuries, and we know that eventually is going to happen, but that's going to be down the road once the drums get to beating. They already are manipulating the yuan. They've been doing that forever. But I think the next step, China is going to be knocking on that door of Taiwan. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we had Fed minutes come out today. The Fed talked about inflation is here to stay. And then also the jobs market is getting weak. And we know as the job market gets weak, that's when the Fed is going to step in. Remember, they have 200 basis points that they can play with. So it's not like they can't come in and save the market. And again, Scott Bessent hasn't even got started yet. I know they're waiting for that stable coin regulation. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have the EU warns of crypto could pose a risk to the financial system. Now, guys, don't forget, the EU already has regulation. But I've told you time and time again, crypto is going to be blamed for the legacy market falling. And we know the big banks and big corporations have been behind Bitcoin and crypto from the beginning. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have the Orb Iris scan making its way through the emerging markets, paving the way for the digital ID and universal basic income. And we see all this technology is definitely ready. And then also this technology is now seamless. Only thing the NWO needs is that crisis, and we're already seeing it being set up. The fall of America to Babylon with that world reserve currency and the rise of the BRICS nations. The only thing I have to do is look at Belt and Road, led by China with that digital yuan backed by that digital SDR. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Well, the markets were clearly in a death spiral, and Trump flinched today and, gave us all some breathing room. But as you heard from Secretary Lutnick, Trump is still clinging to this harebrained scheme to remake the world with tariffs, and that's not something that's going to end well. The China thing is unrelenting. It's important to sort of note the sequence of events. We moved first with these reciprocal tariffs, and then the China responded, and Bessent and the president had turned it around, saying China shouldn't have responded. Well, they viewed this as an attack, so they felt they had to move.
Likely do you think it is that China actually would sell treasuries in bulk? There's been a lot of speculation about market action over the last week. And then secondly, what about the currency, the RMB? So our view of Wells is it weakens quite a bit. So we think US dollar CNH, for instance, goes to 770 in a couple months. Do you think that's possible? How would the government react?
Well, I think the currency option would be preferred over the nuclear option of unloading treasuries. But, if China feels that it is being attacked economically or militarily, they will respond, and they will use all the weapons at their disposal, including their vast holdings of treasury, to strike back and defend themselves. So, it's a two-way street, Mike. It's both nations are dependent upon each other, and we have tools that we've used, and they have plenty of tools that they can use. And right now, it feels like a race to the bottom between the two largest economies in the world.
Well, facing an economy that was slowing but still growing with sticky inflation and a relatively solid labor market, it's no surprise that Fed officials spent most of their March 19th meeting discussing tariffs. Stagflation was on their mind, with, quote, almost all participants viewing risks to inflation as tilted to the upside and risks to employment tilted to the downside. Several noted the planned tariff increases were larger than their business contacts had anticipated, and some companies were already reporting tariff-related price increases. Contacts also indicated a willingness to pass those price increases along to consumers. A couple of the participants noted it could be difficult to determine whether inflation was caused by persistent price rises or by tariffs. The labor market remains strong through the middle of March, but federal government layoffs had begun to affect employment at contractors, universities, hospitals, and other organizations. Many participants noted that business survey respondents to them reported pausing hiring because of elevated policy uncertainty. Everything considered, participants felt the net effect of government policies on the economic outlook was high, making it appropriate to take a cautious approach. And given the current state of policy and stance of policy, the Fed was well positioned, they said, to wait for more clarity on the outlook.
As someone 25 years covering tech, I mean, I believe this is the scariest time that I've seen the markets, but specifically for U.S. tech, because it's really it's really an Armageddon that's come from a supply chain perspective, and that's why we've been so vocal. And I think it's been almost sad to see, because I think as these continue, these tariffs, it would set the U.S. tech industry back a decade.
Yesterday, the European Securities and Markets Authority warned crypto could pose risks to broader financial stability in the future as the sector develops and as ties with traditional financial markets grow. The authority's executive director said yesterday the sector needs close monitoring as crypto markets have been growing quickly and interconnections between digital assets and traditional markets are expanding. She also noted that while risks to financial stability stemming from crypto are increasing, they aren't significant yet. That's largely due to crypto's relatively small size compared to global financial assets.
First, I want to focus on the topic of privacy. Last time we spoke was about exactly a year ago, and we spoke extensively about this topic as several countries, including Spain and Portugal, placed temporary bans on what we see here, that controversial iris scanning device called an orb. And Hong Kong, another example, forcing Worldcoin, now known as World, to cease operations in the region. So I'm wondering what's going on right now with all of that. I believe Hong Kong still doesn't allow World to operate in the region. And I understand, I read recently that Tools for Humanity actually filed a lawsuit against Spain for not complying with the rest of the EU and working with authorities there for over a year. So despite that, still no resolution there. What can you tell us? What's the latest?
So I think first it's very important to understand that there is no ban for Worldcoin anywhere. Generally, anywhere where we operate, where you can go and verify an orb, we're always working with the authorities to make sure that they understand what is happening and that they do that even before we launch. Now, the project sometimes grows so much on a given country that the government has to go in and make sure that what we're saying of how the system works is actually in fact how it does. Most of the times they can do that while we continue operating. Every once in a while, like in some of the examples that you've mentioned, the governments will actually ask us to pause while they're able to review that before we can return to operations. Right? So for example, in the case of Portugal, we're back operating in Portugal. And so some of these cases take a little bit longer than others. But in general, every time we've gone through this process with a government, they verify that in fact what we say is true, which is your data gets deleted from the orb, only you have access to your data, and you can use World ID fully anonymously.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go, but clearly we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China. But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence.
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.